I never really understood because, you get to the end of the year and you're like, oh yeah, I've earned, I don't know, £10 in interest. Great. That's amazing. Woo. But then I'm like, actually, what's £10? £10 like a lunch out. But it's not so much about actually my mum's trying to give me an extra £10. It's about having that mindset of whatever you earn and whatever you have the ability to save and put away and not spend. The quicker you can get that mindset right, the quicker you can start saving yourself a lot of hassle.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Matt Talks Money podcast. On this podcast, we talk about anything and everything to do with money, personal finance and life. This is the first episode in the second series, which I am calling What They Don't Teach You in School About Money. Today, as you can probably see on the screen if you're watching on YouTube, we have Mr. Ollie Trigg back with us. Hello, mate.
Yay!
Nice to have you back. Yeah, nice to have you back.
Thank you very much for inviting me. This is great fun. Apparently, I did it so well the first time. You were like, let's make a whole series just with me. No.
You did get quite a lot of positive feedback from my friends and family.
Oh, well, that's always nice to hear. Not that they told me.
So Ollie's going to be joining me for the next few episodes on this. How many are we doing? Probably 5 or 6, 7 or 8, something like that.
I think we planned 8, but we'll see how it goes.
8. See how it goes. So in each of these series, each episode, we're going to be talking about something different that they don't teach you in school, which we think they probably should, or we think it's, advisable they should teach.
I mean, I think we should probably say from the outset that we don't know what school you went to or are in at the moment. This is just that we found that the education we had, especially our sixth form when we were together, about finance was there, but it was just very, very minimal and very, very rubbish. It's something they did for the sake of it because they had to, not because they felt like it could benefit you. So we're just going to try and shed a bit of light on the stuff that we've learned either ourselves or from our families or the way we've been brought up about good money habits to get into as soon as you can.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't integral at the sixth form we went to, was it? It was a minor part. Yeah. So we've got a few episodes lined up. We're going to talk about different things, but today the topic is savings and how important they are in life. So, Mr. Trigg, why, in a sentence, why are savings important?
One sentence. Because it's much easier to spend money than it is to earn it. So once you've got your money, you need to keep hold of it. Is, I suppose, the simple way of putting it. But for I've spoken to different people about savings, and I've had different experiences with people with savings. Some people just don't like to save. They'll very happily go out and earn a lot of money, but then they just want to spend it all because they've I've earned it, it's my right, I'm going to do what I want with it. If something happens, I have to deal with it. And then there's also people who don't struggle to earn or find it difficult to find opportunities to earn money, so then they look after it and they just keep everything they can just in a pot by itself, ready for when they finally decide they want to spend it. And it's like you could be doing so much with that you're just leaving it there to just sit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. See, it's I think before we talk about savings and their important, I think it's poignant to talk about inflation and interest for anyone who doesn't know what they are. So interest rates is the reward you get for saving with a particular bank. Typically it might be 1 or 2%. If you're under 18, it's normally quite high. Once you hit 18, it drops off a cliff. Inflation.
Yeah, apparently over 18-year-olds just don't need any interest.
They just don't like us, do they?
Nah.
Inflation is the general rise of prices each year. The Bank of England tries to aim for 2% a year, plus or minus 1%. So if inflation is going up 2% and you're only getting 1% on your savings per year, in real terms, you're actually losing 1%. At our ages and the age of, let's say you're 18 and you've just opened a bank account, losing 1% a year doesn't sound like a lot. But if you're 50 and you've got millions of pounds in the bank account, 1% of a million is quite a lot of money.
True. But at the same time, I'd say that, yes, you're losing 1%, but if you don't save in it at all and you're not getting 1% on anything, you're actually losing 2%. And, the difference between 2% and 1% is 100%. So
yeah, no, definitely.
It can make a massive difference just to put a little bit away.
Yeah. And so savings are a vital part of, I think, money education. I think everyone should have some savings because they're so important for things which we'll get onto in a minute. A little quick fun fact for you, Ollie. 59% of Americans, in a study done a few years ago, would not have enough cash in their bank account to handle an $1,000 emergency. So,
Damn.
so 41% of people would have to do it with other means, credit cards, loans from families and stuff.
Hang on, no. So 41% of people do have, or 41% of people don't have enough.
Sorry, yeah, 41% do have enough.
Yeah. Okay. So over half of Americans wouldn't be able to deal with a $1,000 emergency. So if your car broke down, mate, that's crazy. That's mad. And I suppose that kind of hits the nail on the head as to why you should learn these things so soon
early.
and so early. And I know I spoke about it a little bit in my guest appearance in season 1, but my mum taught me from a very early age about, like, you should be having savings accounts and you should be putting money away. And I never really understood because, you get to the end of the year and you're like, oh yeah, I've earned, I don't know, £10 in interest. Great, that's amazing. Woo. But then I'm like, actually, what's £10? £10 like a lunch out. But it's not so much about actually my mum's trying to give me an extra £10. It's about having that mindset of whatever you earn and whatever you have the ability to save and put away and not spend. The quicker you can get that mindset right, the quicker you can start saving yourself a lot of hassle when inevitably everybody's going to have some emergency during their life that they're going to need to have £1,000, £2,000 spare to just be able to be there for you whenever you need it. Yeah,
so a very poignant example is my car broke down the other day. The suspension went on it, and the garage was going to charge £900. I found it cheaper at a different garage, but it's still £400, and that has to come out of savings because otherwise you have to go to a payday loan company and they're going to charge you stupid amounts of interest, or put it on a credit card, which is bad if you don't have it in your savings to cover it.
No matter how good their advertising is about how it looks like, oh yay, payday loans are great, they're so amazing. They're rubbish. They're awful.
Yeah. So I mean, that's probably one of the vital things about savings, is to have the freedom if anything does go wrong. So that brings us on to what I would call as an emergency fund. So I think everyone, no matter how old you are, obviously just the proportion of your income to what's in the emergency fund is going to change depending on how old you are. I think everyone should have it no matter what age they are. Just depends on the amount that's in there.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So I think that should be, you read online, anywhere from 3 to 6 months of expenses. Obviously, if you're 18 and living with your parents, those expenses aren't very high. If you're living at uni and you have to pay rent, it's quite a lot higher.
Yeah. Well, I think that people, especially young people, when they start earning money and they're like, and they've been taught, and I should invest it here, and I need to do something with it, not just leave it, and they tie it up in sort of either ISAs or in small investments or something. Quite often they forget about the emergency fund, and then they're trying to run their first car, that the suspension goes, and you're like, well, I've got the money for it, but it's actually in an investment portfolio that I don't really want to draw money out of. So you need to budget, and it's so easy to budget for that. Just take 10 or 20% of whatever you've got and just stick it away and completely forget about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much interest it's earning. It doesn't matter where it's sat. It doesn't matter how, as long as it's easy to access and it's just there for when you need it. It's just such.
Yeah, an emergency fund has to be easy access. Otherwise, it defeats the whole point of it.
Yeah.
No. It also, I think, doing like you said, setting up 10, 15, 20% a month of your income also teaches you so much discipline, the same as investing, which we'll talk about in a separate episode. But it teaches you the discipline of 10% is going into your savings, so you've only got 90% of your income to play with. But you know that 10% also gives you the freedom in case something goes wrong.
Yeah,
you've always got, because no one wants to be up worrying at night thinking, oh, I don't have any money in my savings account.
No, exactly. I mean, luckily I've never felt like that, but I imagine it would be awful.
Yeah, no, I mean, personally, whenever I get paid, the savings is the first place it normally goes to, and then investing, and then into my, personal day-to-day bank account.
Yeah. How do you split yours? Because I know you've got more than one bank account. How do you split up Why? And first off, why have you got more than one bank account, and how do you decide what goes where?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, as far as I know, there's no limit on the amount of bank accounts you can have. Debit current accounts, I don't think.
I haven't read that anywhere. If there is, please someone let us know, because
Yeah.
we might be getting close.
Obviously, having lots of credit cards is not a good idea. But having lots of current accounts, I don't think there's any limit. And for me personally, if I only had one current account, let's say HSBC, I would find it so difficult to put, different amounts of money everywhere. So what I currently do is I have one account just for rent and bills, one account for things like gifting and stuff. So I save in one account, I save up for when I know there's a big birthday or Christmas coming up. So all that money I know is going to get spent on gifts. Mm-hmm. I then have one, I have an emergency fund in a different bank account, and then I have a day-to-day bank account.
Yeah.
And actually I have two. I have a savings account and an emergency fund. They're both basically the same thing. And there's one that I have with Virgin Money, who I think actually you taught me about.
Yeah.
Because they give 2% interest, which is actually unheard of for our age.
Yeah. Especially during the current climate.
Yeah. So at the moment, inflation's about 0.25%. So we're making actually 1.75%, which isn't bad in real terms.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've actually already made about £10 interest off that, which, as you said, is a few McDonald's. I think everyone should have at least 3 bank accounts. I think you should have one for savings, emergency fund, one day to day, and one like rent and bills and things like that, just to keep it so separate. So that specific account, all that's ever going to go into there is money for rent and stuff. So you're not tempted to spend it, because you've got quite a few as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've actually got when I had a gap year between college and uni, and I was working full time, and during that I think I opened 6 or 7 different accounts, mainly because the way that current accounts were being advertised and used, I think they're still like this a little bit, is that they're like, we're going to offer you this quite half decent interest rate, like 1.5%, 2%, but you can only put in £500 a month, which sounds great, but if you're earning a lot more than that, you're like, okay, so I'm actually only earning interest on the first £500 of this money that I've got. I can't put any more of it in. First off, you're like, where does the rest go? And then you're like, well, okay, so I'm earning, I don't know, X amount a year, but I'm actually only earning interest on 10%, 20% of that, which is just stupid. The 80% of it might as well just be tucked in a cupboard in my house, not doing anything. So I've throughout the year I was constantly looking up new debit cards that I could get, new savings accounts, and I often used that Virgin Money current account I use as a savings account. I think you do as well. But it comes with a card. You can spend it. You can go to the shop and buy it. But I have the card. I leave it in my drawer, and it's just there.
Yeah, mine's in my drawer.
A savings account. I never ever use it.
But I think when that. Go on.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry. I think when. I think when so that Virgin one, I think it's only for a year, and I think so when that's up, I think they're going to drop it off a cliff to maybe 1.1%. So now I'm going to take the amount of money that's in there and then float it around trying to find the next best option.
Yeah, and it seems so stupid. People are like, why would you waste all that time on what is essentially £10 worth of interest? But it's having that philosophy and that mindset, because when you've only got small amounts of money moving around, you only earn small amounts of interest. But again, as that grows and as that those initial figures start to get higher and higher, to have the same philosophy already embedded in you, so it's sort of second nature. Like, okay, I've got £100,000 that I need to put somewhere. Let me go and find an account that can A, store it, and B, give me half decent rate. It makes such a big difference. I think so my sister, me and my sister were brought up very similarly, and I took to this idea very quickly. My sister doesn't like it though. She's like, I've got 7 accounts and I don't know what's what, and she likes to label it. She likes to go, okay, so this one is for clothes, this one is for shopping, this one is for holiday. And I'm like, you can't do that within an account. You can do that for personal finance reasons. So you can go, okay, so I've got X amount in this account, that is for my shopping, and I will add to that a little bit every month as I get paid. but she was trying to, she wasn't gonna fill up her maximum interest account every month because she was like, oh no, that's my holiday account, but I can't afford to put all my money in my holiday. And I'm like, no, just put it all in there and split it up on an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Go and do the fiddly bit in something that's not going to actually cost you money. But the whole time you're not putting money into that account in a month where you're allowed to, you're costing yourself money. And she just couldn't get into her head, and it took a couple of like sessions with her to figure out what she was doing. Luckily, she's all right now. But
See, if anyone doesn't know, me and Ollie have a bit of a rivalry when it comes to bank accounts, online bank accounts. Ollie is a very avid Starling user, and I don't like it, and I prefer Monzo. So I actually have a question about Starling. So if anyone doesn't know, Starling and Monzo are both online banks. They don't have any in branch stores, I don't think.
No,
which is great.
They're hosted by other branches, but no, they don't have
Yeah.
their own.
They're very user friendly and stuff. The one feature I love on Monzo is roundups. Do you have that on Starling?
Yes, Starling has roundups. Thank you.
Okay, but roundups are, most banks don't offer them, I don't think.
Well, they have started to now that the online banks began to do it so quickly.
But Monzo and Starling were one of the first to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was to go buy a coffee for £2.70, then Monzo would take £3 out of my account and put the 30p into a savings pot essentially. And you'd actually, please just open a Monzo account, and you'd be shocked how much money you're saving there. Like I put it towards like an anniversary meal or something, and then there's 50 quid in there, and you didn't realise, and then it's paid for your meal.
Well, I during my gap year, I managed to with that savings pot, I gave myself a budget of 60 quid a week to live off, and every transaction I did went into that pot. I managed to pay for. I had a car accident, so I had 400 quid to pay for. I had a holiday that was, I think, 500-600 quid, and all of that just came out of this savings pot from over the year. Every transaction I did, putting a little bit away. It was kind of scary because I was like, I didn't realize I'd done that many transactions for me to save that amount of money. But that's how I paid for it, and it didn't come out of any sort of my what I would call my savings, because it's just done it for me.
So it's interesting because if I said to you, Ollie, right, here's a £2.70 coffee, but I'm not going to take the 30p, but you've now got to go and manually transfer the 30p. You wouldn't do it.
No way.
But the fact that it's automatic, and in your brain, £2.70 seems the same as £3. Mm-hmm. But if it was rounding up to the nearest 10 and it was putting £10 there, you'd be like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's interesting how your mind works when it's subconscious, and then you don't have to,
Yeah.
That's why I think
actually,
you're gone.
Starling also offers you so you can round it up, so you can have that 30p, but you can also multiply that. So if it was a £2.70 coffee, you could actually put 60p away and try and not notice that. I don't like that because I'm a bit OCD with my bank, and I like everything to be 0, 0, 0, 0. So if I've got like 12p left, I'll go and put that in my savings pot. I will manually go and do that, but I won't. If I didn't have that savings pot, I wouldn't go and manually put the 30p away. I don't really know how that works, but my savings has to be a round number. It has to be. My current balance has to be a round number. My savings doesn't have to be a round number at all.
Oh really?
Go up and up and up. Yeah.
So, no, it annoys me when
how do you cope? How do you cope then with savings in your savings pot if you have, like, I don't know, £3.84 spent, and then you round up 16p? How are you going to make that 16p round?
What do you mean? Because it just takes £4 out of my bank account.
No. So, but the savings pot is not going to be rounded up because you've put 16p in your savings pot.
Oh yeah, but that's the good thing about the savings pot. I don't look at it, because on Monzo you have to swipe to see it.
Yeah.
So it's less likely for me to see it. So by the time I do see it, it's like, oh, you've hit your goal of £100, and then I've got £100.
Yeah.
So I don't see it. So again, it's subconscious.
So it's not that bit that you need rounding up. It's the actual balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Yeah. But I see. So I think that's the importance of automatically setting up direct debit. So every month when I get paid, a percentage goes to my emergency fund type thing, my savings account, so I don't have to manually do it. So X amount might come in, and in the morning I've only got half that amount because it's gone to various different places.
I think another great thing for me that I learned quite quickly was to have all the money that you're going to earn come into one account. So yes, you've got 8 accounts to deal with, but if you just have it influx through one account, then you know where everything comes into, and you know where all your money comes, your new money comes every month, and then you can then spread that out and go £300 there, £400 there, £500 there, whatever, and you can keep track of it really easily. If you have, if you set if you have more than one job and you go, okay, I want this person to pay me into this account, but I want this person to pay me into this account, suddenly you're like, hang on, is this a savings, or have I actually earned this money that I'm then allowed to spend?
Yeah.
And I have one in, which is a current account that I've had for absolutely years, and I have one out, which is my Starling, and everything else just moves internally, and it makes it such a big difference. It's great.
This has turned into more of a what's the word, like budgeting type thing. I don't know.
Yeah, well, saving, budgeting, it's the same.
Money management. But yeah. Basically, the fundamental is savings is very important.
Mm-hmm.
However, I wasn't going to say that, but depending on where your journey of, how, whether you're in debt or things like that, savings are vital nonetheless.
Yeah.
But depending on your financial situation, investing is also important, which we'll talk about in a few episodes time. But please don't go start investing if you're millions of pounds in debt, because that's not a good idea.
No.
Any last words on savings, Mr. Trigg?
No, I just think it's so easy to learn quite quickly, and it just makes such a big difference. There's a lot of people that don't get the fundamentals right, and that's what puts them into all sorts of bother and trouble. And then you go to the bank and they throw all these fancy words around, but just whatever you earn, it's not all yours. Put a little bit away, even if you can't afford to put a lot away, put 20% away. Every month put 20% of what you earn away, and I'm telling you, it will stack up, and you'll suddenly be like, oh great, I've actually got this amount. Plus, if you get to Christmas time, people struggle at Christmas time so much because they're barely earning enough to live on. But if you can afford to take 20% of every other month away, you then have Christmas covered for you, and you don't have to stress, and it's just the same as every other month.
That's why I like my my gift account, because I know all that money's going to get spent, but it's fine because it doesn't feel like my money anymore because it's already gone to that account.
Exactly.
Well, it's been lovely having you on. You'll be back next week. Next week's topic is, if I remember off the top of my head, we're going to be talking about taxes. What the hell are they, and the different types in the UK? Because I think
I've got no research to do. No.
Yeah, we're going to do some. No, but yeah, I think that's another confusing topic, which we'll delve into next week. But thank you.
If anyone is confused by what we've said, just get in contact. Matt's plastering this all over Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. So just contact him somewhere, and we'll be able to.
Drop me a DM, and then we'll reply to you.
Yeah. Well, Matt will reply and then tell me, and I'll be like, yeah, great response.
So thank you for joining me, mate.
No worries. Thank you, mate.
We'll see you guys next week. Thank you for listening. This has been the Matt Talks Money podcast. Thank you for listening.